river otters.
I like river otters. To this day, river otters agitate and irritate me. No, not river otters, but the Mystic Aquarium in Connecticut irritates the hell out of me. You know why? Because there weren't any otters at that aquarium, Dave. And Dr. Tomfoolery, cryptology, obfuscator. The girlfriend and I went down to Mystic, Connecticut. It was supposed to be like the best freaking aquarium in New England. And you know what they had? They had a terrestrial dinosaur exhibit and no river otters.
That's just wrong.
A terrestrial. They didn't even have nautical dinosaurs. I guess that's wrong, right? But they didn't have any seagoing. Like,
let's go with aquatic on that one.
Aquatic, thank you. Though I do like nautical because they might have little hats.
That's where I went.
So,
win a bottle of rum.
Right. It's like so. So we go through this entire the regular aquarium, right? Not seeing any otters. I'm like, all right, I'm a little agitated, and now we go into the dinosaur exhibit, where at least I think I'm hoping to see a good plesiosaurus or an ichthyosaurus or I don't know, one of those creatures, and nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
The big flippers on those things, and cruising along.
I mean, who doesn't want to see dinosaur flippers, right? I mean, at an aquarium. Angry.
You seem to be raging about this, and as a segue,
not so awkward transition, but Rage is probably lighting up a bowl or something right now, so that's why.
Hey, what's up, yo?
What's up? Yeah, this is. Am I guessing it correctly with thinking that this is pre-bowl, Rage?
No, I'm lighting up a bowl right now.
Okay, first bowl of the morning.
Yes.
Okay,
just woke up. Yeah.
I can. There should be this kind of competition where I can figure out where Rage is in terms of his THC intake within like one syllable. Just one syllable.
I'm back to work full time now, so it's I work second shift, so I'm going to bed much later, waking up much later. It's getting harder and harder to not only catch the show, but to come in, weeded up and kind of awoke and alive.
I like how it's hard to be functional because I haven't had my weed.
Yes, the sadness of my life is impeccable.
Right. I just want to say congratulations for John Hudson. I shot him a message yesterday because the way how he looked at the show here yesterday, I was like, wow, I hope he's okay. But apparently John Hudson's back doing well, or feeling better at least.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And there he is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Thank you, John. It's, a lot of people do like the softer side. A lot of people are like, "Why aren't you yelling anymore?"
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to get a broader appeal by using your brain more than your voice.
Yeah,
if I can put it that way, you absolutely have the talent to do it that way, right?
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I think so too. People love to see the rage, but you're not going to win these battles if you're not using your brain.
And feed the fire, right? If you have to record a rage segment where you say, okay, we're going to take a little tummy rub break and rage out. Everybody get their rage hats on and let's and do it for 2 minutes and get back to life in the main, what do you call it, in the fast lane.
Yeah, I like that. I think that'll kind of appease both crowds there.
Yeah. Well, it's content that everyone can intake and enjoy and like and share with all their friends, right, Andy?
Well, that's correct. Thank you, Dave, for bringing me back into reality here. I'm just going on like sleep deprivation and I'm playing with one of my chords. Not that. No, it isn't. Don't make it perverted, everyone. And then Dave just bringing me back into my own show. Thank you, Dave.
Dave. As bad as you are at that, Andy, I'm worse. You're actually better for asking for a thumbs up than I am.
Well, I've seen your streams. I've seen you go there. Yeah. It's only because I've fallen. I have followed Simply Secular Dave's suggestion about writing shit down on note cards and just doing it over and over again.
Well, if you write it down, you don't have to remember. You don't have to worry about it. It's on the show planner. It's
Right.
on the whiteboard in the green room, or not green room, in the in the writer's room.
Well, actually, I'll be honest. I've been stealing my kids' index cards she has here in the desk. So I've just been stealing them and writing down show notes.
They're great.
They are really great. When I was on Jimmy Lou's show yesterday, I was writing down jokes when they were doing stuff, and very effective. These cards.
Very nice. And how is young Biscuit today?
Biscuit, doing well. She is going to her first vet visit today. The girlfriend stay. I mean, if I wasn't working so much, I would do it myself. But unfortunately, I am working quite a bit. So the girlfriend unfortunately has to do this alone.
Is this? I mean, we've seen Biscuit, and I know a little bit about animals, but does Biscuit require any like grooming or regular maintenance or?
Nope. Just feeding, watering, and de-pooping of the litter. That's about it.
Yeah, the litter thing. Yeah.
And once again, the girlfriend has been very good about stepping up and taking care of the poop and stuff. So, have I been scooping the poop? As this is confession time, everyone. This is Andy's confessions right here, Dr. Kennard's confessions. Have I been pooping the scoop? No, that's wrong. Have I been scooping the poop as much as I should be? No, I have not. And that's my confession for the show, or at least one.
Well, you haven't scooped enough poop out of the, what do they call it? Litter box?
The litter box.
When the cat poops on your pillow.
Oh, well, that's a pro tip. Right.
That's a little reminder right there. Hey, remember the litter box?
That's a thing. So Sammy's saying that you've been getting his diploma in business administration. Oh, congratulations, Sammy. Very nice.
Very nice. I've been standing under a lot of cranes lately.
Is that like standing under a ladder and you get like 20,000 years of bad luck there, Dave?
No, if that was a thing, there would be no lucky longshoremen. You are around so many and around and under so many ladders every day. It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
I think what's remarkable is that despite the dangerous, it just strikes me as a dangerous work environment that you have all 10 fingers. And I'm assuming you have all 10 fingers. I've seen your hands that you seem to have all 10 fingers.
I do have all 10 fingers and all 10 toes, but I haven't been injured at this job. I've been injured in sports.
Sure.
And other things. I nearly cut, now that you say that, I nearly cut these 3 fingers off on a table saw when I was younger.
Oh, yeah.
Just the tips.
Just the tips.
Yeah. But that was it was a flesh wound. It didn't go through to the bone. It was,
Oh, you can lose those. That's nothing.
Yeah. If you have these 3, you're good, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, those are the blessing fingers right there. Right. So you need those.
That is not what I meant.
That's not what you meant.
No, yesterday we were working on the ship and it was a finish. So they want to finish on time, and like every day that a ship stays in port.
Hold up. When you said it was a Finnish ship, I thought it was capital F finish.
No, the ship was on a finish shift.
Okay, finish
so
ship.
They were finishing the work they were doing on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to get out of port because they have to pay fuel to keep the engine running. They have to pay the staff on board. They have to pay insurance, and they have to pay port fees. So it costs a ship, $12,000 to $18,000 a day to sit at port, right? So they don't want to do that.
No.
So we were hustling to get them done by the end of the shift, and because the crane was still working overhead on the section we were working on, we were kind of like popping out, doing a little work, and then popping back into the safe area to hide away.
Sure.
Yeah. you kind of shook your head there at me, Andy.
Dave, if there were like Las Vegas odds about you surviving, I would I think the odds makers, if they were just looking at the data, they might say this guy's not going to survive more than,
No, there's lots of there was actually 2 longshoremen who retired this year. So
Oh, really?
lots of people have long, healthy, happy careers in this
Okay.
industry. Yeah. I mean, remember, like the amount of safety that is put in place on the dock today compared to what it was 20 years ago
Oh, yeah.
is exponentially higher, right?
I can see that.
We have an incredible amount of technology that we're using. We have layers upon layers of training and of safety systems. I mean, right from you're responsible for your own safety, your partner watches your back, your foreman watches them, there's a hatch tender watching them. There's people on the ship who are making sure that the people working on the ship don't do anything stupid.
I just want to say that was my favorite scene in Casino too, right? The pit bosses watch the car dealers. The eye in the sky watches everyone. But continue. That was just
The supervisor watches the eye in the sky, and then the government watches the supervisor.
Yeah. What they say about longshoremen is like there are old longshoremen, there are bold longshoremen, but there are no old longshoremen.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some people do some crazy shit, but I've seen that, like, you see that on the internet every day, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Something just landed on my balcony. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get some coffee and kick something off my balcony.
All right, Dave.
Don't break my drone.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, Rage, besides working?
Yeah, just working all the time. I'm back to 40 hours a week, so I'm staying up later, but less time to do the YouTube work. So the YouTube work is taking up more of my time. It seems.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting a new job in not next week, but the week after that, and I have to do. And the training, the onboarding is for 2 weeks, 9 to 5. And it's like 9 to 5. That seems like hours I never work.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever worked a 9 to 5 job. And it's like, for 2 weeks I have to be cogent, awake and aware, Andy. And I mean, something's going to have to give. Obviously, I'm going to have to like shift the hours of the show around and everything. But I'm not looking forward to it.
It's been, I don't think I really quite realized just how long the pandemic and the shutdown was, just how long I've been in the house with all of this time, and I've been able to put out content sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, every single day. Now like reality's starting to happen again, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what I used to do. I used to have to split time,
Well, I'm sure the girlfriend has seen the change in me. Because, once again, during the pandemic, right, I could easily sit down, bang out a blog post, which might take me an hour, right, from soup to nuts, and then stream for like 2 hours a day. And I still have and then I'm still pretty chill because I get to play around, I get to goof off, I get to, do the stuff on the internet, because it isn't just what at least what I do. I don't know if you do this. Rage, because what I do, it's like it isn't just doing this show, it isn't just doing the blog, it's doing all the work on, let's say, Facebook, on different social media platforms, to monitoring the groups, working the page. It's it just and now that I'm working, it's like, wow, that took up a lot of time.
And for me, I don't really pay attention to my Facebook group. I have one, my Facebook page. I have one, but I don't do anything to it. But I do spend like a lot of my time is research. Like I'm doing these videos on the children of God, and people see the videos, but what they don't see is the hours and hours and hours of research that goes into that. And yes, trying to find time to still do that. And I've had all the time in the world for the last year and a half. That's been a struggle.
Well, that's it. That's really the deep work, right? Because there is deep work which takes research and reflection and editing and promoting. Once you've done the product, it's a heavy lift. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, and it's rewarding when you get done with it. But yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into it. I'm starting to I'm starting to do a study on what's going on in Africa. There's some crazy religious stuff going on in Nigeria, Uganda, places like that. And as I'm getting into the study, I'm like, before I would be able to do it all day, and now it's like I got to do it an hour here, an hour there, and it's like, man, this is what I used to have to do, and this is why it was so hard to put out content every day.
And to tell you the truth, I would say that I'm much more stressed out now than I was during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, me too, without a doubt.
Much more stressed out now. Just trying to juggle it all together.
Yeah, now, for me, I am going to have a bit of a reprieve coming up. I'm going to have this surgery. At least I should be having this surgery. So I'm going to be here for a couple months, but then it's going to be life back to normal. And if anything, I'm going to have the health to pick up the extra hours and to actually do more at work. So, my time is going to even become more limited after that whole process.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because, I've been able to manage through the pandemic while being out of work, but I do feel like, and I know that I have to play catch up financially to make up for lost time. And that creates pressure too. Yeah,
me too. Like you probably remember the moment. There was a moment where I spent my last dime, right? Like all my savings were gone.
I know, brother. I know.
Yeah. And it was like
scary.
Yeah, it was a very scary moment, and I was freaking out on Facebook and all of that. And so, like I'm literally in kind of playing in catch-up mode now that I can actually do full time. Is not only do I need to pay my bills, but I need to get that little nest egg back up there.
Well, and this is a problem that you can see throughout the culture, that generational wealth is disappearing. It is disappearing amongst, and I'll say it's especially disappearing in the middle classes. You can just see it with reverse mortgages, right? That alone just shows you that. See you later, Dave. Good seeing you, man.
Take care, guys.
Okay, have a good day, man.
Yeah, but you can see intergenerational wealth is disappearing amongst the middle classes, and that's because no one can save money. There is, who's going to be able to afford their cancer treatments or housing or services when they get when they become elderly or they become impaired?
Yeah, the last time I looked at the numbers, it was like 48% of Americans don't have $500 in the bank. And when you think about that, it's just staggering that in the richest country in the world, people don't have that nest egg.
I know I've said it more than once, but when you look at the array of factors, the issues that are facing our society, you got to ask yourself, how sustainable is the system as it stands now? And I don't think any intelligent person can look at things and say, oh, this is sustainable in 100 years or 200 years, the way the things are going now.
Yeah, I was just recently reading a report. I can't remember the name of the report or the name of the study, but a study came out, and I need to find this because I really should do a video on this. Top economists are saying, top economist, if I can speak right, they're saying that by 2040, the world economy is going to crash because we cannot sustain as a world what we're doing right now.
Well, once again, the array of factors, whether you're talking about the climate crisis, right? If we do go up 3 degrees, then if you look at the maps, that means a lot of the most populated and densely industrialized areas on the planet are going to be underwater. What does that mean realistically? That means that the economy is going to suffer, of course. It'll just get thrown into crisis. Services will suffer. And unfortunately, when those things occur, that's when religious fanaticism increases too. And people authoritarianism.
And you're starting to see that, it seems more and more people are turning towards the extremism part and not just the religious part.
You just look at what's going on, what has happened in Europe with the rise of the right because of migration from the Middle East due to the Syria crisis, due to Iraq. And that's a small ripple in comparison to what's coming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to get pretty crazy. As more and more people become desperate. Well, I think everybody knows what human beings are capable of when they're desperate, and that's just a scary thing. And this pandemic, I think, is a good it should be a good wake up call to us, because you just spoke of, it does seem like the middle class is losing ground. But during this pandemic, while everybody was stuck at home getting that government money, these billionaires,
yes,
they had one of their best years ever.
making bank.
Yeah.
I was once again on the Tang Network last night, and I and this is so important, at least for me, is that when 9/11 occurred, right? It's like we woke up, the atheist community woke up and became energized due to radical Islam, right? And I just haven't seen the same kind of response regarding January 6th insurrection in terms of the existential threat evangelical Christianity is. How evangelical Christianity threatens to destroy the country.
Yeah, I haven't either, and I've kind of wondered about that. And it's, I think part of that is that, just ingrained white supremacy that's here. When you see brown people do it, you react differently than when you see white people do it. That's kind of been like the discussion when it comes to these mass shooters, that for all these years, most of these mass shooters have been extreme right-wing evangelical Christian gun nuts.
Yeah.
And yet they like to call them the lone wolf. But yet when a brown Muslim does it, it's a terrorist attack.
Yeah. And I would have to agree with you on that too. You took the words out of my mouth, Rage. You took the words out of my mouth.
The weed is good. I'm reading minds this morning. So.
That's good. You were talking about Nigeria earlier, and what a lot of people don't realize is that is a country divided to a Islamic north, from what I understand, and a Christian south, and that creates a lot of problems in that country.
Yeah, and the Christians are bad in Nigeria. I was just watching the African Humanist over on Heretical's channel, kind of talking about it as I was drinking my first cup of coffee. The Christians are bad. Like, even by our standards here in America, they're deeply evangelical. If you're an atheist, you're not going to get a job. People aren't going to associate with you. But the Muslims are fucking crazier. It's like they're even worse, she was saying.
Oh yeah. Well, once again, you look at global climate change, and that just, makes situations worse, because when you have, it just gets people pissed off, man. It just gets people pissed off when they don't have food in their bellies and water. They're just going to do more crazy stuff.
Yeah, and we throughout history, we've seen what happens, like the French Revolution, that was a byproduct of extreme poverty, and they went crazy. People went crazy. So yeah, I've often said it seems like the more the oligarchy becomes ingrained here in America, the surer the odds that civil unrest is going to happen.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just got to have a couple of people say, "Let them eat cake," while they're boosting off into orbit on their $1 billion, in their rockets, and things could easily just spiral out of control.
Oh yeah, and there aren't as many. Everybody's talking about labor shortage. No, there's a good job shortage, right?
I have to tell you, I mean, I have been looking for jobs, and I can't tell you how many times people have told me, like would-be employers have just told me crazy shit, and I'm like, I'm not working every weekend.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do that. There was one job, right? And I think I've talked about this before, at least on a show. It was to transport people in need to their medical appointments, to all kinds of different things, right? It's called a ride here in Massachusetts, in the Boston area. And it's basically something from the MBTA, from the train. But you get to drive around in a car and drive people to appointments. And they're like, we can't guarantee your schedule. You have to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week after training. And I'm like, hold up. Are you saying right now that I just reiterated, it's like, I have to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that you cannot guarantee me any kind of schedule whatsoever, that at the most I'll get 40 hours, but I could be working double shifts on the weekends. And they're like, yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, all right, well, thank you, fuck you. I'm not doing that for 15
Thanks
bucks
for
an
wasting
hour.
my time.
Yeah, it's like 15 bucks an hour for doing good in the world, and you're telling me you're gonna fuck me without even kissing me first. It's like, no, I don't need that.
Yeah, I worked for the automotive industry for about 4 years, and the company was a Japanese-owned company, and they pretty much instituted things how they do it in Japan here at the place I worked for. I was working 84 hours a week, 7 days a week. You had to use your PTO to have any time off, and then your PTO is gone in the first half of the year. So the second half of the year, you're working against your point system, trying not to miss too many days to where you lose your job or lose any, your chance for a promotion. It was basically hell. My daughter had to live with my mother because I worked all the time. I couldn't raise with my own kid, even though I was making more money than I had ever made in my life. It was, and ultimately I ended up quitting the job because I'm just like, I'm not going to waste my life away here. Because that's what I was doing.
It is a tough, and maybe some people can do this. And having been the primary caregiver of my kids when they were, young, it's difficult, if not impossible, to do both jobs correctly. Both jobs being the primary caregiver of your children while doing some kind of career path. Especially between the ages of 0 and 5, right? When the kids are really young and they haven't gone into school. I never felt comfortable, and some people have to do it, and that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. But I think that something is going to suffer. There is this myth, and there's this myth that you can do both well, and that anyone can do it.
Yeah, it's impossible. I think some people do manage to pull it off, but I think they have a lot of help. A lot of support. Probably come from some kind of situation where they have more resources than your average bear, because most people you make your sacrifices, and there is no way to do both best. You just kind of make it through, try to get through each day.
You make compromises about how much time you're going to spend with your kids and how much time you spend at work.
My mom took care of that problem by working a job of daycare when her kids were growing up. So she spent time with us and did a job.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, there was a time when I actually considered that. Like here in Michigan, they needed more daycare providers. The training was somewhat easy, and I was actually considering, if I were to, do this 3-6 month training program, however long it was, then I could literally have my kid make my money, and my kid would have plenty of other kids to play with. All I got to really do is put up with a headache and clean. I almost went that route, honestly. I just to be able, because I was so desperate to see my kid at the time because I was working so much and I never got to see her, that I was pretty much willing to do anything.
I hear what you're saying, man. Deep Parks and shifting gears a little. Were you going to say something, Dr. Tom Fuller?
I was just going to say that my mom really loved that she made that decision and that she could spend time with her kids and be able to work and everything. So, it was a great decision for her.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm fairly lucky. At some points, the business slows down and some months get pretty rough to get through. But generally, I have a decent job. It pays well. It pays me enough to live, and it works around the schedule that I want. They work around me picking my kid up from school, getting them to the sitters. If something comes up, they're really good about understanding. Hey, he's a single parent. He can't just leave his kid at home. Now that she's getting older, life is going to start getting easier because I can leave her at home, but
right.
Back then there was, that wasn't an option,
Yeah, dude. Yeah. You can't leave your 3-year-old at home.
You just can't.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't, we're so quick to judge people. The harder thing is to empathize and try to put yourself in their situations, which is something that I struggle with. Everybody struggles with, but you never truly can know what a person is going through.
Yeah, yeah. It's difficult to be mindful and to stay in this kind of agnostic mindset, right? Is that
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have enough data about to make any kind of assessment on how this person who I just met, how they live. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you get that data where you have to make a judgment, but yeah, I think too many people are just too quick. And I think it's this internet era, it's really easy to be judgmental behind a keyboard when there's no ramifications or emotions that are going to come back at you.
Yeah. Well, there's this, I learned this in a social psychology class back in the day. There's something called a fundamental attribution error. And the fundamental attribution error is when you ascribe your bad behavior to situations, right? So I ran the red light because I was in a rush to get to work, right? So that's an example of that. But when someone else does the same behavior, well, that person's a jerk. That person's evil. That person's horrible. And man, the internet has just really thrown gasoline onto that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you see that, and I'm kind of the reverse of that. The only thing that pisses me off on the road are people going slow. I'm like, speed it up. Like, the speed limit is 50. That means 55, and if you're going 45, you're a stain on the earth.
What really bothers me are people who. Yeah, well, I'm going at like I said, and I agree with your Rage, the 5 miles per hour higher than the stated speed limit. That's a safe bet, right?
Yeah.
But then there'll still be people who tailgate me, and I have to tell you, I've been hit from behind a bunch of times by idiots, by people not paying attention, and that just bothers the crap out of me.
Yeah, that happened to me yesterday. Actually, I was on my way to work. I was doing Whitmer is paving our roads now. I guess legalizing weed actually helps states. So we have this new road that used to be crap. You couldn't go down. You could literally not go the speed limit on this road because if anybody's ever been in Michigan, the first thing you notice is the potholes. Our streets suck. So I'm going at a good 60 miles an hour down this 50 mile an hour road. And this dude comes right up on my ass, and he's getting all impatient. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to go faster. Like I'm just not. So he whips around me like it's like the Daytona 500, and it's like, dude, what is wrong with you? I can't understand human beings.
If you ever, I don't know if you're friends with Jason from Dragons and Genesis. He drives a truck long distances, and every once in a while he'll post something about crazy drivers. And it's like, wow, I don't know how I could deal if I was him having to drive long distances in, an 18-wheeler and having to deal with lunatics on the road constantly.
Yeah, as a person who gets around on e-trike all the time, I can personally attest to people driving cars are the worst.
Right. I'm looking forward to what I know I've said it before, but I'm really looking forward to AI taking over the driving, so that I can dine properly in my car and I don't have to have hands on the wheel. And other because I consider myself a good driver, but we all consider ourselves to be good drivers more or less. But we just have, like Michael Sherman said, we just have bad brains. We just have bad brains.
Yeah, it's funny. The best thing about American Idol was all those bad auditions, because those people really thought that they were good enough. And it's like, when you see human beings' ability to make themselves more than they are, it's really it's something to observe. And I think that's why American Idol became such a hit, because those earliest moments before the actual competition started, you saw a bit of humanity in its truest essence.
Yeah. I think a way to protect yourself against that kind of delusion is always having people with good judgment around you who are willing to tell you that you suck.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's why I'm so popular, because I play that role for a lot of people. I don't tell them that they suck publicly, and I don't tell them that they suck, in those words. I will try to make suggestions privately, right? When no one
I'm
else.
brutally honest. The people at work were telling me we're saying that yesterday. I told one of the to go girls, I'm like, you're like the worst to go girl I've ever seen in my life. And I wasn't playing, I wasn't joking. She's just literally a bad worker. If I had my way, I would have gotten rid of her. And like that hurt her feelings. It's whatever, but it's like I'm to the point now, like I've been nice, you're not following directions, you're not doing what you're not following the process that would make it easy on you. So I'm just like, you don't carry your phone with you, you're not paying attention to your counter to see if anybody's there. It's like literally I'm going to stop scheduling you for this. And so she went and she was telling some of the other coworkers about it, which is natural. I'm not going to get mad about that. You're going to vent. And they're just straight up telling her, dude, he's brutally honest. You're either going to get used to it or you're going to find another job.
And by the way, maybe you do kind of suck.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but at the same time, sometimes people just need that true reality.
When I was managing, I went to this training, and it was instrumental in how I interacted with people who I managed. And it was a simple kind of, I sat down with the trainer and they said, okay, so you should play Andy, someone who's always late for work. And you should just give me excuses about why you're late for work. And I said, all right, I could do that. And I would go like, well, I'm sorry I'm late for work. I get on the bus. And they go, oh, that's okay. So what are you going to do to make sure you get to work on time? And then I said, well, and then I would just give them another excuse. And then they said, well, how are you going to make sure that you get to work on time? And then I would give another excuse. And then it just kept on going and going. It's like, well, that's really effective. It's like that. It just saying, how are you going to fix the problem? How are you going to fix the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And just putting it on the other person as against to trying to solve their problem for them, right? Because that's what some employees want you to do, right? They want you to solve their problem, which you can just give them a blank check and let them do whatever they want to do.
Oh yeah, and I think oftentimes bad management will. I've been a manager for quite a while now, and the thing that I dislike the most about it is those moments when you just have to be brutally honest with somebody.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that, then you're not going to be a good manager. You're not a leader of human beings.
This is true, and especially when you're talking to someone about shit that you did years ago on your own. Like, yeah, I know. I'm thinking to myself, well, I used to smoke pot in the, in the back too. That was wrong. The person doesn't. Oh, sorry. Hopefully, the other person doesn't know all the crap I used to pull. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand it because I used to be the same way, and I can't tell you guys how many times I've had the conversation with an employee like, "Hey, I smoke weed too. I just leave it at home. Don't do it on the clock, right?"
It will, especially at that kind of job too, where you have to multitask, be on your feet, and be awake and aware.
Not the time to be stoned.
Yeah.
I miss it too. I do. I go in the bathroom and I'll cry a little bit about it. I miss my weed.
Yeah.
But it can wait till I get home.
Right. Well, the secret is loading up in the morning, right, Rich?
Yeah, that's what I do.
It makes the day a little bit more palatable.
But they're youngins. They'll learn as they go through life.
Well, you see this so much with people who are older, is that they forget what it was like back then. They forget their own histories, right? They forget about the kind of crap that they used to do in their 20s.
Oh yeah, dude, I catch myself like saying those things my dad said, like these young people and their music these days. I'm like, I swear I'd never say no shit like that before.
I try to stay, but once again, it's this mantra in the back of my head: just because I don't like it doesn't mean I have to shit on it. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I have to shit on it. And then the other voice says, but what if I say something that's funny and I shit on it at the same time? And I said, well, that could be permissible. That might be permissible.
Yeah, definitely. The thing I'm telling myself over and over now, I had to do it last night. I saw something that bothered me. I'm like, don't react to everything that bothers you. Don't react to everything that bothers you.
Right.
Don't react to everything that bothers. Like that's my mantra right now.
I'll tell you the story, right? This is from like maybe 15 years ago. I was just, a worker. I was just working with people who have disabilities. I was on a group trip to the bowling alley, right? And and one of my coworkers from another house, attractive 20-something-year-old woman, and she had these kind of like sweatpants on, and on her butt it said in big bold letters, and you can probably see where this is going, juicy. And I'm working with a bunch of dudes who are brain injured, and they're just still dudes, right? They're still men. They just are impaired cognitively. And I'm going, I don't think juicy is really helping them out right now.
Yeah, probably not creating the best of situations, environments.
Yeah. So, and I felt like a narc because I dimed on it. I just talked to my manager about it. I was like, listen, man, just in the nicest way possible, and I feel bad just having to do this, but you should just, pull her aside and say, maybe that's not okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the toughest things about management, those conversations, because it's awkward and it's uncomfortable and you got to do it. Right.
Dude, I'll tell you this other story, right? This is back in the 90s where thongs were really popular. There was like an explosion of thongs. And so I was managing a house. There was this hot young woman who was managing another house. And she was wearing a thong, and you could see it. You could obviously see it through her pants. And so my boss's boss comes to me and says, Andy, you should really talk to her about, not about that. And I just look at him. It's like, I am not doing that. That is beyond my pay grade, sir. You want to talk to someone about thongs, you're going to have to do it yourself. That is not my job.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that either.
Yeah.
Choice of underwear that's a personal choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I always thought I'd be a crappy management type back in the day when I was, just one of the workers. Never really wanted the responsibility, but I'm pretty good at it. I have to admit, they want to promote me, but if I get promoted, then I have to do more hours. So I'm just like, no, keep me where I'm at. I like my job.
One of the reasons why I work the jobs that I work right now, because I could easily, people have asked me to do management jobs, and it's like, I know what that means. That means being on call.
Yeah.
That means working crazy hours.
Yeah, that's the best thing about my gig is I make my own hours, and my boss is always there. He's, the dude just loves to work. So I'm pretty lucky with where I landed.
That's good, dude. Congratulations on that. Especially in that business, in the restaurant business, you are expected to work crazy hours.
Oh yeah. And like, I'm going to be able to take this 2 months off. I don't have to worry about them replacing me. My boss is going to be there. He'll just do the extra work. And I'll have a job to come back to. I think, any other place, most other places here in America, I'd be in some really murky waters right now.
Yeah, dude. Definitely. Well, once again, it's about creating a system, just broadening up the conversation a bit. It's about creating a system where everyone has a good deal like you, right? Mm-hmm. That's the deal everyone should get. It shouldn't just be based on luck.
Yeah.
Right. It's, it shouldn't be based on luck that you can take time off because of illness. That it shouldn't be luck that people have good schedules or have good, safe working environments or decent working environments.
Well, yeah, and there should be more awareness here in this country that parents just aren't staying together anymore, and oftentimes one parent, usually the woman, sometimes the man, it's just a bit harder on them to work that classical schedule system. We need to be more aware of people's situations in this country, I think, and we need more PTO, and we need childcare services. I remember when if I have to use daycare, it sucks away 25% of my income. So if I have to really do a babysitter system because it's really the only way it's affordable.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how people can shell out 25% of their income, their net income, no less,
It's insane, man.
on childcare when you're only making what, $16 an hour, $17 an hour.
I mean, especially considering like if you do kind of know what's going on, abuse happens in a lot of these places. So it's like, I'm skeptical of sending my child to that anyway. But if you have to, you find a good one, you find a reliable one that has trust in the community. But the things are so expensive that you just can't do it. And then going through a babysitter system, man, it's rough because babysitters aren't consistent. They have their own lives. So a lot of times there's just out of the blue, I don't have a babysitter. Holy shit. And now I've got to try to find a babysitter so I can make it to work. It becomes a lot to juggle,
And I'll tell you this, I think it's something that the atheist community doesn't really talk that much about. Probably because atheist parents in those kind of situations are too busy to be connected with other people online, right? They're just too busy between childcare and working. But when you think about it, a lot of us atheists come from religious households, and you just you either don't have contact with your parents or they are unreliable. You can't trust them with your child.
Yep.
So, and that creates a whole ton of problems.
Oh yeah. Like I said, when I was working for the automotive industry, my daughter lived with my mom for 3 years, and I love my mom. She's dead. I was deeply grateful to her at the time for doing that. But, my daughter was 4. My mom was taking her to church. Now my daughter's a Christian, so it's like, yeah. And, my dad absolutely despises my atheism. Most of my family despises my atheism. So I rely on babysitters pretty much through my daughter's mom's side of the family because they don't know me, and that way, therefore, they can't hate me.
Right. I just want to point out 3 steps ahead. Thanks for showing up. I would say, and I come from a generation where my dad could work, and my dad did work. He worked one union job. He worked for the telephone company when there was only one telephone company. He bought his house for $20,000. It was a nice house. And he eventually got 2 houses. He bought a vacation home, had 3 cars. And my mother never had to work. She chose to work as a church organist and a choir director. So I wouldn't say it's the media. I would say that there are just market forces that have occurred in this country that have forced, if you're going to work a middle class, if you're going to have a cul-de-sac lifestyle, let's say, or a traditional American, owning your own home, right? Owning your cars. Both parents have to work most of the time. It just is untenable to have one person in bringing the money. I mean, some people can do it, and those are the white collar jobs that pay really well. But most Americans can't do that. It's
a true reflection on just how America has turned. Like when you come out with a slogan like "Make America Great Again," the best of people will tell you, well, that meant when one parent could work a job and the other parent could stay at home. Under a male patriarchy, that one parent always being the male, the woman always having to stay at home. That's what they mean. They don't mean, the racism and all that other stuff that we like to bring up all the time, blah, 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 blah. But that's a true reflection because now nobody can do that, right? Like if both parents aren't working, then you're not going to have that same life that you had back then when one parent was able to stay at home. And that's all a reflection of the consumer society, the oligarchy that we have pushed into this country to make it to where, you're only American if you work your life away, as opposed to if you're actually raising a decent family.
Well, the thing is, you work your life away. And believe me, I work with people who are elderly and who are poor, dirt poor. And these people who've worked their lives typically, and then at the end of their lives, they are besieged with medical bills, and they see their life savings disappear over time, by 1,000 cuts, by 1,000,000 cuts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's kind of the biggest fear is, your insurance is usually going to take care of the small shit. But the moment you get that big thing, that's where people run into issues, and the insurance isn't going to cover it all. And it is so outrageously expensive that most human beings just can't afford it. So you're immediately bankrupt and having to sell it. I mean, it's insane. And it's, I hope I don't get cancer. you know, like
Or this is a darker thought. I hope I die before I get cancer.
yeah, that would definitely be the preferable path.
Yeah. I just want to talk to 3 steps ahead for a second. I would say the problem isn't the increase of prices; it's the lack of increase in wages, and there's a variety of different reasons for that. And it's not the workers' faults that the increase in wages haven't happened.
Well, yeah, and things are like super weird now. So like when you talk about cost increases, you know, in the restaurant business right now, beef is astronomical. It is crazy high, but also like we can't get bottles of Budweiser until September. Like there's a bottle shortage. I mean, that's weird. Like things are happening now that I don't like has never really happened before. You know, like there's never been a bottle shortage, like a shortage of glass. What's even going on here? It's people are playing catch up from that pandemic, and
yeah.
So we're seeing a different kind of world than we've ever lived in before.
You definitely see like the supply chains, and let's talk about how you're seeing these problems with supply chains. And it affects everything from beer bottles to cat food, for fuck's sake, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will say 3 steps ahead, and I'm going to open up my anti-mantra of economic policies here, is that once you had all the money flooding into the political system from the Reagan tax cuts, that's what warped the system inherently. And that's when you got lobbyists paying off politicians en masse to keep wages low, the destruction of union jobs.
Yep.
You know, and there is a clear line from the Reagan tax cuts to where we are today in terms of the state of evangelical Christianity, the state of billionaires in this country. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh yeah, I concur wholeheartedly, without a doubt.
Yeah, because back before the Reagan tax cut, companies had an incentive to reinvest in their workers, to reinvest in their industries. But after that, after the Reagan tax cuts, they were like, well, why can't we just give our CEOs millions of dollars? Millions and millions of dollars. You didn't have CEOs paid like that before the Reagan tax cuts.
Yeah,
because companies didn't have that kind of money to throw around. And when companies
the Republican marketing behind those tax cuts is entirely backwards, where they claim that the tax cuts will do the things that are exactly opposite of what they do.
Bush called it himself. Bush the elder said they were voodoo economics.
Yeah,
he was
right. Government became business on both sides of the aisle. It started with Reagan. Citizens United turned money into speech. So like now we have politicians with profit incentives as opposed to politicians standing for ideas and people. We don't live in a free country anymore. We live in a corporate one.
Well, and this isn't just us saying this on this YouTube channel. You can see there are international bodies that see how free a society is, right? There is a grade, and we are in a somewhat free society here in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somewhat. I call it an illusion of freedom. You know, they tell you you're free as they enslave you. It's if you don't follow the norms and the conform. If you don't conform, if you become destitute, you become judged as opposed to helping. You have billionaires spending billions to go to space instead of feeding the poor. It's just money's become politics now, and once that happens, money is the god, and the people don't even matter. That's how both parties can vote against really popular policy ideas within the population. Yeah. They can vote against them or not even bring it to the floor because money does the talking.
Yeah, and also, so we get to a point that because we're desperate for money. Most people are desperate for money here in the States. Is that we get a quote unquote tax cut, which is really just borrowing money. Mm-hmm. And just increasing our debt and the interest on that debt, then people are thankful for it, and they're like, sure, we'll go along. That's why Democrats can't be elected president, basically, unless the Republicans drive the country into the ditch.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only time it happens. And then, we saw it with Bernie Sanders. It's going to be a certain type of Democrat, one that is going to really kind of bow to that corporate will. I think Joe Biden's done decent so far, but we're still early. And I've had a lot of criticisms. I'm afraid I'm afraid for the moment that the corporate in Joe Biden starts to come out.
Well, what I'm concerned about, and I've said this, and I haven't said it recently, is that I haven't seen a lot of movement about making Puerto Rico and DC a state.
Yeah, me neither. That's just like non-existent talk right now, right?
Non-existent talk. And I just want to point out that if Joe Biden thinks he's going to get reelected because of the infrastructure bill, he is sorely he's just wrong. It doesn't. Politics in this country do not work like that.
Yeah, Obama thought that about his healthcare bill, and he almost lost, man. I mean, I still don't know how he won that election, honestly. People want to see change. January 6th happened because people want to see change. Like me, you, and Chris, Andy, we were talking about Puerto Rico and DC every single day because that was the talk, and now it's just nowhere. That's not even in the conversation anymore.
It's not in the conversation, dude. And every once in a while, I just look at all the talk about the infrastructure bill and how it's just bogged down and intentionally bogged down, so no other work can be done. It's like, so you have a window of time. You have 2-year window maybe to get what you need to get done, and you're spending your political capital on infrastructure.
Yeah, it's scary, especially when you see like who Trump's supporting, who's running on that other side, and traditionally, historically, you've got 2 years, and that it's going to flip. It's really scary because when it flips, it's going to be an extreme flip.
Oh, of course it will be. I just want to go back to 3 steps ahead. I will say that one of the main issues is that prices and wages have not gone up 1-to-1. For example, let's say, what is it? Education, right? Higher education has gone up at a 9% rate year after year. That's insane, and that's untenable. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be able to have 9% increase in wages? I think so. So most of the issues come from wages not meeting costs, but also, and this is from The Economist, in times of globalization, right? There's always going to be a bifurcation. There's going to be a separation between rich and poor, and how a society prevents that from tearing the system apart, from tearing the countries apart, is by the government taking an active interest, an active role in making sure poor people don't get screwed, right? And that keeps the entire system intact. However, as we've seen with this bit of globalization, that has not happened. And so that's one of the reasons why we're in the mess that we're in now.
Yep, agree.
Yeah. Wow. Covered. It's always a different bunch of issues. A couple of days ago, it was about men faking orgasms.
Men do that? I missed that one.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, we were. I just happened to mention, it's like, you talk to people and you find out. It's interesting when people are honest. It's like, how many people have smoked meth, and how many men have faked orgasms, and it was an interesting conversation after that.
Well, learn something new every day.
Right. You learn something new, and that's why you should hit the like button and subscribe. Wow, what a shitty transition, Andy. What a shitty transition. But I'm going to wrap up the show because I got to go to work. I got to feed my face before going to work.
My day off, I get to clean all day. So, yay.
Rage, we should live closer together so you can come over here when you need to, right? When you got that itch.
Oh yeah. I wish, man. Honestly, I read the book Cape Cod when I was a teenager, and I've always wanted to move to that area.
Well, we are. Yeah. Well, you're doing the good work where you are right now. We need more blue people in red states.
Yeah, true that.
True that. Though we should be sending you a stipend for doing your work, for doing the work out there.
Yeah, true that. Dealing with these Michigan Democrats is a freaking headache, man.
I imagine, dude. All right, everyone. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for tolerating me for this past hour? Wow, The hour has flown.
Good one to do.
If nothing else, Monday, everyone, 9 a.m. Take care. And thanks, Rage, and thanks, Dr. Tomfoolery, too.